Hello, this is the one and only Little Dancer for Dr. Craig. For my art investigation project, I decided to share with you all what I've learned about one of my favorite pieces of art, which happened to be from the Impressionist era. This piece of art that I'm referring to is a sculpture called The Little Dancer, age 14, by Degas, and was made sometime between the years of 1879 and 1881. He made this in his art studio, which was in Paris, France. It is a piece of art that is so well known and received today that it can be found mass-produced at any fine department store and also in many houses found around the world. Edgar Degas' famous sculpture, The Little Dancer, age 14, was not created just to be displayed, but rather to explore different techniques and materials used to create his artwork. When Edgar Degas created this unique sculpture, he only displayed it once at the National Gallery of Art, and it was quickly removed by Degas himself. Degas was very, very critical of his artwork and was known for wanting to be a naturalist artist, meaning he wanted to be more realistic and can be partly considered a realistic artist. Well, Edgar Degas' Little Dancer is a very unique sculpture, and this is quite evident when you take a look at the materials he used to create this sculpture. Here's a look. So up until this time, the most common materials that were used to create realistic sculptures were made of bronze and stones like marble. Instead of using those materials, he chose to incorporate alternative materials such as real blonde hair and a silk and linen ribbon which tied her hair together, which can be seen in the picture to the far left. Let's see. For her clothing, he used cotton for the bodice, and a silk and cotton tutu, and linen for the slippers. The cotton tutu can be seen in the middle picture, and the slippers on the right. Her entire body, however, besides her tutu and ribbon, were initially constructed from iron rods molded in clay and then covered with beeswax, which gives it the final molding. Today, this can be seen in the National Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C. According to Daphne Berbor, Not Just a Study in the Nude, she mentions that Joris Karl Huysman once said, "The fact is that with one blow, Monsieur Degas has overthrown the traditions of sculpture, just as he long since shook the conventions of painting." When comparing Degas' Little Dancer, age 14, to famous sculptures made like David by Michelangelo, the materials and methods that were used are different than in traditional works like that of David, which was created with marble and had smooth and very realistic form, as seen on the picture to the right. Whereas with Degas' Little Dancer, again on the left, he used fabrics with clay and beeswax, and you can see the process of the molding along the arms and the legs, if you look close enough. Degas had made approximately 150 pieces or sculptures that were comprised of clay and beeswax, which happened to be unknown until after his death in 1917, where he died at the age of 83. This could just suggest that maybe he was experimenting with what he could do with the materials that may not be very permanent. He didn't want to do what traditionally was done. He wanted to try new things. Usually during and before his time, when wax was used, it was used for the lost wax method. The lost wax method is what great artists use to create sculptures in bronze. However, when Degas used the wax, it was a part of his final product. The way previous artists would use the wax is to make hollow walls, and the wax would be poured and added into the mold that was made. From there, the melted bronze would also be poured in, and it would cool, which would give the shape of the final project. Because of how hot the metal would be, the wax would melt, making it so you can separate the mold from the newly made figure and give you the details that were once there. This method with wax was used in the Marathon Boy, pictured to the right, a Greek sculpture which is now displayed at the National Archaeological Museum in Athens, Greece. Even though wax was used to aid in the making of the final products of the Marathon Boy, Degas used wax as his final product to show how you can use materials for different reasons. So he didn't just use it in the process, he used it for the final product. Degas was known for his drive to push the limits of art, and like other Impressionists, wanted to use different techniques. Even though Degas' artwork to many art critics is believed to have ugly facial features, she is still considered extraordinary because of the methods he used to create his artwork, using things that were familiar in an unfamiliar manner. According to Maria Lopez Fernandez in Degas' snapshot of modern life, Degas had once told a man, "Art was a great convention, a sort of artifice to be constructed through elaborate compositional procedures." Then, Maria goes on to state that Degas lived at a time when the first moderns were challenging the classical values of composition and finish, meaning he believed in trying new ways of making artwork. So before I end this presentation, one last thing that I want to point out that Maria Lopez had said. She pointed out and once wrote in this book that I have gotten a lot of this information from. She wrote, "Through this unconventional subject matter, compositional devices, and techniques, Degas exemplifies the liberation of avant-garde from the limiting structures of academic convention. For his modern subjects, he produced as modern idiom." Thank you guys, and here is my bibliography if you want to check my credibility. But thank you, and this is The Little Dancer, age 14.